Hi, Nikki here. This is KastKing on the Line with your host, Nikki. Hi, this is KastKing on the Line with your host, Nikki, and today we have the amazing Captain Brian Boxx. Captain Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Nikki. Thank you for having me.
Now, you look like you're doing great. Now, for people that can't see, you are sitting in front of beautiful palm trees that are swaying in the wind. You got the sun beating down on you, blue sky. Looks like a great place to be. Are you home?
It is paradise. This is my backyard.
Oh,
This is the Paradise Coast, as we call it.
I love Florida. I love it. Now, are you sitting in your boat currently, right now?
I am currently sitting on the deck of my boat speaking to you. Yes, ma'am.
That is awesome. Awesome. It's good to see you. Now, Brian, what do you do for KastKing? What is it? I know you're a captain, but what is it that you do for KastKing?
Well, I'm a pro guide for KastKing. What I do is I speak with people about the products. I explain to them why I choose to use their products. I approached KastKing. KastKing did not approach me. I found them by doing a couple of little quick tests on some equipment, and that KastKing took the cake on all of it. Its ability to hold up in salt water really drew my attention, and I reached out to KastKing, and their customer service really wowed me. Met up and did a couple of great phone calls with some people, worked a few of the boat shows and stuff, and met some fine people like you and Scott and Coach, and I fell in love. KastKing is a family, so here I am today spreading the word about KastKing and about their great products, and what a great company.
That's awesome. Awesome. Now, what else is it? I know you do so much more. What else is it that you do besides being an awesome captain?
Um, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh, like what else is it that you do? Like you write for the magazine? You write for Coastal Angler?
Oh, okay.
Right.
What else do I do? I thought you were talking about going on with KastKing. I was like,
oh no, I'm sorry.
That's about all I do. So, edit that out.
Exactly.
All right. So what else do I do? I write for a few magazines. I write for Coastal Angler. I do a monthly article with them. That's available both hard copy magazine and a digital copy online. It's the Naples edition, but my articles can be found in a few other places throughout the state. They just kind of pick and choose which areas, which months they post. I do a lot of social media work. I do a lot of Q&A with people. They send me PMs to my account, and I answer them questions about, what's biting in that time of the year, what's the best bait to use, recommendations online and equipment to use. Rods and reels are a big one I get. What reel should I choose? And I have this much money to spend. What should I spend it on to get the most bang for my buck? And that's a lot of the work that I do with KastKing, is telling people the honest truth about the equipment and why I choose to use it and why I think they should give it a shot.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, being a captain out on the boat, you have to have some amazing trips. I know you have to have some trips you don't catch a lot of fish. There's some trips where you wish were over. There's some trips that you wish went longer, some memorable trips. Can you give us some your most memorable trip that you had out on the water?
My most memorable trip with clients on the water, I took a guy and his three daughters out fishing, and they were absolutely, just genuinely loved the art of fishing. They loved being out there on the water. They loved the environment there. They didn't care if we were catching anything or not, but we had a fantastic bite that night. I put them on snook after snook after snook. I put them on tarpon. We went out and found a couple of sea hares floating in the water, and I explained to them what they were, and we played with those and let those guys go. Dolphins were everywhere. It was a great sunset. The bugs weren't bad. It was perfect temperature. It was just an awesome night. And they made for some really great conversation. They were very relaxed. They were very easygoing people, and funny, joked the entire time. So it really made it not even seem like I was working.
Like a business, like a job.
Like
you were having fun.
And they were constantly telling me, "Hey, Cap, grab a rod, come up here. You don't have to do this for us." I'm like, no, guys, this is all about you. I want to make sure that I'm ready if something happens, and I can, make sure that we keep that big fish on the line. I can coach you through every second of it. it ended up being a great night. We got some great photos with them, and they even got featured in the magazine.
That's awesome.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
really cool. That's really cool. What magazine?
It was on Coastal Angler as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Now, do you take kids out? Have you had kids out on your boat?
I do, but I don't push it as a kids charter. My boat is not really safety rated. It's very flat deck. There's not any
Right.
rails. So it is a little tough to keep kids on the boat. But I will take a parent and their kid out from time to time, especially if I know them or they're a friend of a friend. And then any angler that I know, any young kid that just shows an extreme interest in angling, I always try to get time to take them out. I have a wife's friend of mine that has a nephew, and he is just absolutely infatuated with fishing. He's only 6 years old, and he can name like every species
That's
that we have out here on the water.
that's
So
awesome.
I took him out, and he wanted nothing more than to catch a shark. And I took him out, and he caught a 5.5 foot bull shark by himself. I stood next to him
Get
the
out
whole
of
time,
here.
but he held the rod the entire time. He followed it all the way to the boat, and he's 6 years old.
Oh man, I could
So
feel that
yeah,
excitement right now. You
it
know
was
me, you fish with,
fantastic.
you know I'm a kid. I'm like a big kid. That's awesome. Wow.
It was fantastic, and I even was able to get the shark on board safely and let them take some pictures, standing next to it, and then we released it, and he pet it. He didn't believe me that it felt like sandpaper, and he touched it, and his eyes just lit up, and he's like, "Oh wow!" So,
Oh, that's great, Brian. That's really
but
cool.
I do believe in teaching our kids, our youth, the sport and the art of angling and conservation. My boat's just
Absolutely.
not really the place for it. Now, I do a lot of seminars. When I was in the military, I hosted the Kids Fishing Club on base. I did a lot of kids tournaments on base. The community that I'm working with, I'm actually working to put a fishing club together for them where we'll have a mentor program. So yes, I do strongly work with kids, just not on my vessel.
Now, you said military. You were a military man. Which
Yes, ma'am.
branch?
I was in the Air Force. I
Oh,
did.
thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. I was a conventional nuclear weapons technician. I towed munitions to the airplanes. I built bombs for the airplanes. I worked
Oh
with the
my gosh.
airframe and the F-22 Raptor in Guam, two of the most amazing aircrafts that we have. And then one of my personal favorites that I worked with as well was the A-10 Warthog. Wow, that plane is amazing.
Is it really?
It is.
So you enjoyed it? Was that something you think you would have stayed in, as a career, or is it something you just wanted to experience and get
It
out?
was it was a way for me to change up life just a little bit, coming out of high school. 9/11 had just happened. I really wanted a way to get out there and support my country and do my
Absolutely.
duty. And I just felt like that was my calling. I always had an infatuation with airplanes. I always wanted to be around them, and the closer and louder it was, the more awesome it was. I was totally obsessed with air shows as a kid. So
Really?
still am. I guess that's the portion of me. I go to as many air shows as soon as COVID is gone. I can't wait to get back into the air show portion of it. As you can see, I live right next to an airport.
You live
So
right next to an airport. I can hear that.
yes,
That's
ma'am. Yes,
awesome.
ma'am.
Oh, that's awesome, Brian. That's really cool. I didn't know that. So now you have kids? Do you have children?
I do. I have a little
Ah,
daughter. She is 11.
oh, is she
She
into
is
fishing like her daddy?
yes and no. She's been around fishing her entire life, so it's not really that special event that most kids get to get out and go fishing. But she is quite the angler, and she has quite an amazing cast on her. I think just a few more years, she gets into the finding that maybe we can get a passion started, and I think she'll be, something in the fishing community if she wants to be. But
Oh, wow. That's really awesome. And your
yes, ma'am.
wife, is she into fishing at all or?
Well, that's actually how we met.
Really?
My
Tell
wife
us that.
saw
Tell us.
me walking into the dorms from a muskie tournament, the Muskie Inc. tournament on Lake Pombetir. And as I walked by, her dad, our stepdad, is actually Arnie Jean Bailey, which is a bass fisherman back in the day of Fish Burn. And,
Wow.
so when she saw me, she had an instant attraction. The fishing rods grabbed her attention. And we played hard to get there for a little while, and then we were mortal enemies for a little while. And we had two separate groups of friends that clashed, and then we became together, and our friends came together, and we started hanging out and partying a little bit more together. And one thing led to another, and almost 16 years later, here we are.
Oh, that's a beautiful story, Brian. That's beautiful. That's good to hear, especially, in times like today. It's nice to hear a beautiful story like that, and with love, and it's nice. But now, how has speaking about what's going on today? Can you tell us how has COVID affected everything that with your business? Has it affected it any way?
It has, Nikki. It's affected it a lot. This was set to be one of my best years projection-wise, as far as reservations set from last year. My busiest times of the year, the time where I pretty much make all of my money for the year for my company, is spring and the 4th of July weekend. And as you guys know, COVID hit us pretty hard right at the beginning of March. Everyone that would normally come down on vacation to go to Florida, stay at the resorts, which is where most of my business comes from, they ended up canceling their reservations completely. It was about $60,000 in reservations that were canceled.
Oh, Brian, I'm so sorry.
So that was a big hit, but I have set my company up to survive things like that. Being in South Florida, we have hurricanes and red tides. Red tide hit us really hard the past 2 years previous, and I was pretty much completely shut down for fishing through both of those. So I pay all of my bills up front for my company, and pretty much the only thing I have to pay for with the company at the moment is fuel, bait, tackle, stuff like that if I need to replenish something before a trip. So if I'm not taking anyone out on any trips, I'm not losing any money. I spend bare minimum on advertisement, and like I said, the licensing and stuff like that's already taken care of at the beginning of the year. So that helps out a lot. Anyways, the cancellations hit me really hard through spring break. Then the 4th of July weekend was rolling around, and I started getting a lot of phone calls. Hey, can we book? We're going to come down. We didn't get to come for spring break, so we're going to come down and spend 4th of July down there. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I had days, and it's a 2-week period, and for 2 weeks straight, I was double and triple booked. Sometimes I'll fish trips from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3 or 4 in the morning. Picking clients up at 11 o'clock, picking clients up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go out on trips. So I really tried to make the most of that time to try to recuperate some of my losses. And the governor sent out an order that they were going to close the beaches and close the bars, and then severely limit the capacity of the hotel, or maybe it was the swimming pools, whatever it was. Just the people did not, they all canceled their reservations. They didn't show up. I took 2 people off that week, the week of 4th of July.
Oh gosh. Oh, Brian.
Yep. But like I said, we're all set up to survive those kind of things, and it hurt me mentally, I guess, but my company in a whole is still standing strong.
Hurt your heart, it's like, right. Now, is it starting to pick back up? Are you starting to? You feel like? I feel like, especially around here, things are starting to come back together. More things are opening. Businesses, little, small businesses are opening back up again, which is so nice to see, our small businesses. But I see as I walk the streets, so many businesses are just closed, Brian. Businesses that mean something to us and to our community. Businesses that help us more than these big businesses do. And their doors are closed, and it's sad to see that.
The guys that donate to our local football teams, and the people who donate to the local charities and food banks, their businesses are severely affected, and those donations, that help is not going to come from the community this year. It's still a lot of lingering effects, from the shutdown. So I really hope to see it. I'm really thankful that I am a part of Florida, where we have seen this, ability to reopen our state and get kind of back to some sense of normalcy. It's been really great. As far as my company picking up, this time of the year is always really slow for me. I usually take the whole month of September. It's like maintenance month and reboosting the equipment, regearing, all that stuff. So booking into October is when I really start my day charters again. And it's a lot of sight fishing for redfish and stuff. So I've done a few trips this year already, and I have quite a few trips booked for the end of the year, including a great special appearance from some really good friends. Looking really forward to that trip.
Oh, that's
But
great.
you know, we've had we've had a lot of really good things come to our waters here lately, with the governor and the water quality control that's going on here. Them limiting the flow from Lake Okeechobee into our waters has really helped to keep our waters stabilized.
Yeah.
And then we've had a closure on redfish, snook, and trout for the past 3 or 4 years, and that's extended through May of 2021. And I can say that I definitely, without a doubt, see, my logs don't, they tell the truth. We've
Right.
definitely had an uptick in redfish in our area. Last year was one of the best seasons I've had for redfish in 11 years. And this year is some of the redfish that we're seeing already this year is just impressive. The size of the schools and the size of
Wow.
the fish. So it's really good to see them making a big comeback. I cross
Yeah.
my fingers that everything stays
Yes.
stabilized. We don't get a red tide, and these closures keep working. So
Okay. Absolutely. Just 1 second. We have to have a word from our sponsors. KastKing offers you affordable innovation through best fishing tackle, including a wide variety of quality fishing rods, fishing reels, fishing line, and fishing accessories. Look for KastKing products on Amazon.com, Tackle Warehouse, AcademyOutdoors.com, eBay, and of course, KastKing.com. Make the switch to KastKing like so many fishing pros have. All right, we are back with Captain Brian Boxx, and we are just discussing the effects of COVID on his business. And, he's just discussing things starting to come back up around, and he's noticing the fish and everything's getting just kind of trying to get back to a little bit of normalcy here. Now, when you're out on your boat, when you go to take people out on your boat, what is being a captain? What does that entail? What does it start from your trip when it begins, morning to the end of the trip? What does that entail? I mean, that's got to be a lot. I mean, to get ready for, right? I mean,
it is. One thing, Nikki, I try to do is I try to make sure that I customize the trip to my clients. I want to make sure that I'm giving them the trip that they expect and the trip that they want. So I don't treat
absolutely.
everybody like a box client. I don't do the same thing with every client. We fish different styles, we fish different places, and we target different species. One of the first questions that I ask when somebody looks to book a charter with me is, what is your fishing experience? How would you rate yourself, a beginner all the way to a tournament pro? And I take their answer and I customize it, and I put some gear below deck so I have it on the boat just in case, but it's not taking up any space. And I set up a game plan in my head, and then I pull the trigger on it. We use weather, we use tides, big time on tides. To choose the locations, I try to minimize the amount of boat running time that I do to keep
Mhm.
my clients in the water and fishing as much as possible. So I always try to make the longest run first and then work my way back in so that we're taking 5, 10 minute boat rides to the next spot, if something's not producing. One of the great things about the area that I fish in is I have multiple avenues to get into multiple different scenarios of fishing. I can go out of the pass and fish on the beach line. I can run offshore to some nearshore wrecks and bottom fish out there. If it's really windy, we can tuck into the back bays and fish way up in the creeks, so there's a lot of options that, weather we can use to steer away from foul weather. Now, lightning is one thing I'm very scared of. I will not take my clients. If I hear thunder, we pretty much end the trip right there,
I
postpone
hear
it, go
you.
see.
Wow, wow. And now you have to. There's a lot that goes into preparing for the trip, with gear wise, right? You have to have gear
There is.
because not everybody brings their own gear. This is something that
No,
you
no.
have to have prepared, right?
Correct. I do recommend that clients bring their own gear if they have good gear that they're confident in, because confidence is key out here on the trips. But I supply all the rods and reel and tackle and bait needed for the day. I have coolers with ice and all that good stuff. Gear prep, again, depending on the clients and their customized, whether I rig them all with lures or I have them all set up for live baiting or dead baiting, to minimize casting, then that will be all set before the trip. Another thing that I do if we're live bait fishing is I try to go out and get my bait before I pick up my clients. See a lot of people that take their clients with them to get bait, that's a great thing, if they want to see that process. But, when you're spending an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to find bait on a 4-hour trip, I just don't think that's quite fair.
Yeah.
So I always try to get that bait before the trip. Now, of course, we always have problems sometimes, and the bait grind can be really tough, but I always try to get that bait on the boat before my clients come.
Wow. Now, is there we talked about a memorable trip, where you had a most memorable trip. Is there a memorable fish, perhaps, that biggest fish or kind of fish that you were on? I know every captain has that one. Maybe it got away. Maybe it,
This
you're
one did
laughing.
not
You're
get away.
laughing. Here we go. Here we go. This is what I want.
So when I first started fishing in Southwest Florida, I had a little small 16-foot Carolina skiff that I just put together to go out. And I had a fishing buddy, and we just went out and we hit the water almost every single day to try to figure out Southwest Florida fishing. We were in this back bay fishing in maybe a 3 foot of water. And we were shark fishing for bull sharks and stuff like that on light tackle. Um, One of the rods went off, and I set the hook on it, and it just was not stopping. So we turned on the trolling motor, and we chased it down and stayed on top of it. Probably about a 45-minute fight. I thought by the middle of the fight that I was stuck on a big stingray. I thought I just had a Honda Civic car hood that I was hung on to, and it was just sucking itself to the bottom. As we got closer to the line, there was a rope tangled up in my line. And I thought, oh, well, this stingray had got himself wrapped around an old crab trap pot and had the line all hanging off of him. So now the water's really dirty. We couldn't see into the water. Couldn't really tell what it was. Still hadn't seen the fish yet. My buddy reaches over and he grabs the line and starts, pulling the fish up with the crab trap line.
Wow.
He's on his hands and knees, and this rostrum of a 16-foot sawfish comes out of the water. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those, but it
No,
looks
I
like
haven't.
just this massive, long. Imagine somebody just swinging hedge trimmers at you.
Oh my
Comes out of the
gosh.
water, and there were colorful words that I've never heard used to describe that moment coming out of his and my mouth. But it was an absolutely amazing thing to see. They're highly endangered, so we wanted to do everything we could to try to get this sawfish released safely. I noticed a boat coming by us, so I flagged him down just in case something went wrong. We had somebody else there to help us out, get us to the hospital if we needed, because this was a crazy animal. Okay, we lifted his head out of the water, and it took everything in my power to keep his head from hitting the boats.
Yeah.
The
Oh my
the
gosh.
video is quite insane. It's on my YouTube channel, which isn't very big, but it is on there. It's Monster Sawfish Catch, Rescue, Release. Now the video file did corrupt a little bit, so towards the ending it's a little discolored and everything, but it still shows the whole process from start to beginning with the edited 45-minute timeout for the fight. But it shows the whole landing spot. We were able to get that fish up and get the line cut away and safely release that fish. We documented it with FWC. We called them. We gave them all the measurements that we could, all the estimates that we could, and all the location data that they needed, water temp. We had everything for them. So they were really happy. The researchers were happy to have that information. Found out that she was a breeding female, and they estimated her at 16 feet long, almost 1,000 pounds.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000 pounds?
I'm in a 16-foot boat.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God,
the fish with the rostrum and everything was the length, if not a little bit longer than the boat that we were in. And there's a couple of spots in the video where she rolls her whole body and flips her tail up, and the fish just keeps going on and on and on in the water. It's like you think it's the end, but it's not. It just keeps going.
It just keeps going.
Oh, that was only half
you're out, they suck you back in.
That's it.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh,
Yes,
Brian, that's so cool. So the next question I wanted to ask you, but obviously you kind of just answered it with your excitement and everything. I mean, being a captain and doing this constantly, taking people out and fishing, and I know it's a passion, but is there ever a time do you get tired of it? Like, man, I don't want to fish today. And then I know you don't have time to fish yourself, right?
That's absolutely correct. Like right now, you can see me swatting. The no-see-ums are just absolutely. I've got bug spray on, and they're bad down here. Sunrise and sunset, when the wind's down, they can get almost unbearable. So it's great to have that buff, and those gloves and everything. That's an excellent added thing to keep me down. But Yeah, I mean, after 2 or 3 weeks of fishing with clients straight, throwing the net, the cast net, Nikki, that's so much work to throw, you
I
know,
can imagine, Brian. I can't.
a 14-foot cast net and then haul over, you know, let's say 200 pounds of bait, and then you have to sort through that. You get a lot of bycatch in there that you don't want. You know, if you add certain fish to the live well, they'll die, and they release ammonia and other things into the water that will kill your good baits. So there's a lot of work involved in that, and it does get tiring, you know, but it's called a grind for a reason, and we just kind of fight through it. I definitely look forward to my vacations.
I
I
bet.
think the worst part of my job for me, I'm also a marine technician. I went to school, went to Marine Mechanics Institute to learn how to work
Really?
on boats. I
Wow.
worked in the marine industry for a few years as a rigger, rigging new electronics and stuff like that on boats.
Wow.
So I do all of my own boat maintenance, everything.
That's awesome.
And you know, they say boat break out another thousand.
Yep. Bust down
Usually
another
for me,
1,000.
it's bust out another 500 just because I can cut that maintenance cost off.
Oh, that's sweet.
Down here in this Florida humidity, working inside the bilge of a boat, and not always having the proper tools or a garage or something to put the boat in to get out of the sun, that one beats me up pretty bad, and I got a rough back as it is. So being in particular angles and stooped over and just lifting, and my neighbor really made me laugh one time. He called it ups and downs. I only have so many ups and downs left in me for the day. So every time I
It's a
have to
great
get
way
off,
to put it.
that every time I have to get out from under the boat or get out of the bilge, that's one of my ups and downs gone for the day. So,
Oh, that's great, Brian. It's so good to see you laughing. I'll give you just one more last question. I've let you get out of the heat and the bugs. I see they're bothering you like crazy. It kind of leads into this. Would there be anything you would want to do other than what you're doing right now? Is there something that you had a passion for? Maybe or is this something that you've always just wanted to do?
well, fishing has always been my passion. Offshore fishing has a special place in my heart. That's why I don't do it for a business. Getting out there in the deep blue is kind of my vacation. It's my getaway. So I do not want to do that as a job. But that's just it's a way for me to get out there and enjoy myself and enjoy fishing as in general. Something reserved for me.
Is there anything you want to add for your social media so people can follow?
Yes, my Instagram page is a_salt.weapon. You can send me a follow there if you guys have any questions at all. My PM is always open and available. I answer my questions as quickly and as accurately and as honestly as possible.
Wow. Well, Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on my show. This has been great. It's been a lot of fun, and I really, really appreciate this. And thank you so much for joining us here today.
Oh, thank you, Nikki. The pleasure's mine anytime.
KastKing, KastKing spells affordable innovation. Make the switch to KastKing for the best value in fishing gear. KastKing offers you an affordable, quality alternative to high-priced fishing products. Thanks for spending time today with KastKing on the Line. And as always, we'll catch you in the next adventure. Thanks, Brian.